Yeah, and you record on? Yep.
Yep.
Okay.
All right, so we have a very interesting webinar today, and I'll be honest, I was very much selfishly interested in the topic. And so often we invite people to talk about issues that have a broader appeal, but this time I just wanted to know how it works. And so once Gordon agreed to present and to talk about his experience, I thought we might as well invite other people and allow them to learn from Gordon Perchthold here how to self-publish a book. But originally, I'll be honest, I mean, I wanted to set up a private meeting just so I can learn how this works. And so all of us academics at some point plan to publish a book. And those of us who have an experience with publishing a book with a publisher know that that process can be difficult, slow, cumbersome, and in many cases, even after you publish the book, you get such a small percentage of the proceeds that you basically do it for fun. From my experience, I have a couple of books published with a publisher, and I think we are getting something like 5% or something like that, and there are two co-editors of each book. So in the end, I made a few $100s, from the whole enterprise, even though the book itself is like $250 to buy. And so when I've heard that Gordon has published now 2 books on Amazon, I wanted to know how this works. And so here we are. And so we got a lot of emails, a lot of messages from people. Some are obviously here attending today. Others said that they cannot attend, but please do record the webinar. So it seems like the topic is of interest to many academics, to many colleagues, and not only academics, I assume maybe also some professionals, practicing professionals. So that's what we will be talking about today. And just as a quick introduction, so Gordon Perchthold, at this time, he is at the Singapore Management University in Singapore, originally from Canada, and has lived and worked all around the world. In fact, if I'm not wrong, please correct me if I'm wrong, but much of your career you actually spent as a practicing consultant, right, with Deloitte. So unlike many of us who read a book and then teach it and pretend that we actually know what we're talking about, he's been doing it in real world. So when it comes to practice, he is more experienced than most professors. All right, so without any further ado, so a new book published by Gordon just came out. It's available on Amazon. You can buy it, yes, in hard copy print, but also available in electronic format. And so I would like to learn more both about the book, but also about the process of publishing it, please.
Okay. Well, thanks, Vas. And yeah, 25 years of my career was as a business consultant. As a business consultant, and then the past 9 years, I got a PhD at the University of Sydney, international business. Most of my career has been helping multinationals internationalize towards Asia. And I've worked with you over the past couple of years because I created a course on managing multinationals across Asia, and I've embedded X culture within it. And one of the challenges I found with students, whether those students are undergraduates, masters, or exec ed, is we all know you assign them to read something and they never do. They come to class and you expect that they've read it. And partly because the most academic books are quite dense in terms of an ability to read, particularly for the non-practiced practitioner. So I thought I'd create something that would be reflect experience, but be supported by academic theory that was accessible to students, and that professors could actually leverage it as well. I actually went through the traditional book publishing route the first time, and that's what caused me to say there's got to be a better way.
Okay, I didn't realize the first one was with the publisher. Okay.
I have the scars on my back too. But it was relatively easy, I found, to go through the process. You already have your an account on Amazon probably. You're not, all you're doing is creating and extending that account into Kindle publishing. But the onus is on you to make sure you have a proper manuscript. So, the publisher could give you some help with typesetting and the like, and sort of editing, you got to make sure you've edited it well, or get someone to help you do that. So you can't get away from that. But in terms of the target audience for my book, it is very much students, business executives, and professors that want to teach international business. I don't think we actually said what the title is. It's to build and manage multinationals for sustained growth across Asia.
And we would like to devote some more time to the book, either in the beginning or at the end, because it seems to me it might be an interesting, a good addition to many international business courses. So I will not be surprised if many of our professors, ex-culture professors, or just IB colleagues decided to add this book either as the main text or perhaps as an add-on reading. It's not extremely expensive, so it's definitely affordable as an additional book, perhaps. So it may be a nice addition to the course readings list.
Yeah, it was, in terms of the title, number one, across Asia, so there is a bit more of an Asia focus. That makes it a bit more unique than the traditional IB text. Number two, it's focused on multinationals. So it does embed IB theory throughout it, but not necessarily from a neoclassical economics perspective that tends to be a bit more focused on trade. This tends to be a bit more focused on internationalization. That is, setting up and building sales offices or production facilities in foreign markets, and the challenges in doing that. And I say for sustained growth because my own PhD thesis was investigating Western multinationals in terms of their commitment and decommitment from Asia. And what causes that? What are the successful practices? How do you sustain growth within Asia? Because 80%, what I found from my 12 case studies, is that basically about 80% of multinationals actually decommit over a period of time. They may recommit, and sometimes they do it multiple times, which is perplexing. But it covers basically the context of Asia, the cognition, the cultures, and the various market economies across the 48 countries and 3 territories of Asia. It goes into talking about the internationalization process and the strategy for developing a process for developing an internationalization strategy. Which they're actually, if you look through a lot of the academic articles, there actually isn't really a defined process like the designed approach for developing an internationalization. It's different than just saying a single market strategy and extending it for a multi-country market. You need to actually develop a internationalization strategy, and then there's a process of doing that. So the book goes through that, and then the book talks about the roles and interrelationships between corporate headquarters, regional offices, and gotta take a water, and country subsidiaries and expatriates. So that's the context of the book. The way it was delivered is basically through, originally was through LinkedIn posts, and I've basically curated that. So basically you have 1,300 characters of a key concept, whether that is Uppsala model, whether that is the China civilization, whether that is the parenting of corporate headquarters, 1,300 characters and an image. And it's really aligned with the millennials of this day and age, who are focused, who tend to respond to a social media interface and LinkedIn. All I've done is taken that and consolidate it into the book.
So one goes to Asia, spends most of his life or much of his life there, learns about business in Asia, collects all that information and experience. And then in your particular case, so the book is almost like a collection of short stories, then it becomes, right? Or almost like snippets where one doesn't have to read all 1,000 pages to get the full story. So you can go, so that's specifically useful for busy executives and busy businessmen, as well as busy and not only busy, but also with a short attention span students. But let's say you have your content. So now it's all downloadable, all in whatever format, Microsoft Word, for example, or whichever other text editor you use. So how do you go from the manuscript, essentially, or from something on paper or on your computer to actually the book that you held at the beginning of this session?
So the core is the manuscript. And the manuscript, no front matter, no back matter. You strip out the bibliography. That is what basically is uploaded into a program that you can get from Kindle called Create Kindle. And so that resides on your laptop.
So let me clarify that. So Kindle or Amazon, they use their own software for processing that. It's not like you create a PDF and you upload it, right? It's different.
No.
Can you explain more?
That's a traditional way. You can, create a full PDF with the front matter, back matter, but then you got to figure out how do you make it conform into the Kindle format, and that's a challenge. So what the Create Kindle does, it basically formats it to be accepted onto your tablets.
And it works only on Amazon Kindle Reader, or it can be read by other readers as well?
So Kindle will create Amazon will create the format. Once you get it into the Kindle format, they can actually transfer it into the other formats for other publishers, or other types of tablets.
I know
if you go on their website, it will show you all the various tablets that it will work on.
I know on my phone I have a Kindle app, so I do have a Kindle device, but on my phone I have like a Kindle app that essentially simulates Kindle, and I think the app is free. So as long as I have the book, I can read it on any device, essentially, just add an app. But
you can have that app on your laptop too.
Yeah. Okay. So, but how do you is it a difficult process from the IT point of view? Like, let's say your original text, I assume, was in Microsoft Word, right? Probably.
Yeah.
So is it difficult for someone without the IT experience to transpose or to?
So the process is you basically upload it or you upload it into the app, and that's it. I'll tell you, it's a bit more involved in that, but that's basically. So the way that you can see the Create Kindle app basically looks at, first give me your manuscript. That's what I want. And this Create Kindle, you can do some basic editing into it, but don't do much. It's not like Word. It doesn't have all that functionality. You do not want to do a lot of editing into it. But I did some, and you can get away with that. I basically used a style for my chapter header, a style for my section headers. So multiple chapters go into an overall part or section of the book. The book has 3 parts or 4 parts, and then each part has multiple chapters. And then the rest is normal text. Figuring out how you want to do the text in terms of, do you want an indentation and all those aspects. But you should do that all in your word processor, and then you upload that. Okay. So once that's in your Kindle, you can then in the Create Kindle app, you can then copy and paste your front matter in. So there'll be the program basically has your contents page, and that they will give you some text, and you have to watch that's the only one you really have to watch is the not the contents page, the copyright page. Sorry, the copyright page, because that's the first page, and it puts the dates, and it does give you an ISBN number, but that ISBN number is a dummy number. Make sure you change that at the very last step before you upload it. And if it's just an ebook, there's no ISBN number. You just delete it. But if you also produce a physical book, you should copy the ISBN from that physical book and just put it in your ebook, so that if anyone's looking at it as an ebook, they can reference it with the ISBN number. The preface, you just copy and paste from another document what your preface is. For the same thing for the introduction. If you have any acknowledgments, so all these sections. If you want to add in a non-standard front matter, you just add that in. You can add as many as you want, and you can position it where you want. So you have all your front matter. Then you go into your manuscript with all the chapters. And the reason it wants typically your front matter looks a bit different than your chapters. All the chapters have to have the same exact structure. You look at any book, it has the same structure. So that's why I suspect that Amazon does it this way. And then the same with the back matter. I do have when I'm creating my manuscript, I do get I use EndNotes. It does produce my bibliography at the end. I just copy that bibliography, strip it out of the manuscript, and put it into a separate document. And then later on, I just copy and paste it, and it just formats right in.
That makes sense. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So then I hit a button and say publish. And what the Create Kindle program does, it just creates a file, okay, with a KDC file suffix. So you basically have your raw manuscript done, including the front and back matter. Okay. You know how it looks because in the program, you can actually, it can show you through a simulation of what it looks like on your Kindle, on a tablet, whether it's oriented this way or that way.
One question.
And it shows you how it goes from page to page.
One question: how does it work with graphics? Can you add like diagrams or pictures?
Okay. So the graphics, I had 144 images in mine because I had basically a page of text and then an image. You need to put that in. You don't upload that. You add each one in as a JPEG. So I had to go through the 144 pages and add it exactly where I wanted it. Mm-hmm. Okay. So you just say insert graphic. You grab it, the JPEG file, and insert.
But it does allow graphics to be added to text as well.
Oh yeah, and it basically allows you to position it. You can say, do you want to take the whole page, a third of the page? It basically has to be a floating graphic. So that's the reason they do it that way, I believe, is it has to be a floating graphic. Because if you have it in landscape mode and then turn it this way, that graphic's going to change.
Right. Yeah.
So they have this the coding done to allow, you've shown where you want to position relative to a particular text element. And then it figures, and then you say, that's where I want my graphic. And then it figures out where it's positioned on the page, whether it has to go on to the next page, because you need quite a bit of flexibility.
Right.
And remember that you can have this on here, or it may end up being looking out on my little phone.
Exactly,
right?
A different screen shape. Yeah. Gordon, there are questions already coming from our listeners or viewers, and thank you so much, Miguel, that you took the first step here. So everybody, if you have any questions, please type them in the Q&A window. And then also feel free to raise your hand and we can add you so you can participate in the discussion here as well. But so Miguel is asking, can you tell us more about the front matter and the back matter, what that is? And to be honest, I'm not quite sure either. Are you talking about the table of contents and preface or something more?
Okay, so the front matter is everything. The front and back matter is everything that's not in the core manuscript, the chapters. So that starts off with you have a title page, which is really the same as your cover. It's then your copyright page, your preface, your praise of the author. You can have an author page. Some of these, it's your choice. It can be in the front or the back.
Acknowledgements.
There's some variability, but obviously the table of contents. Now, Amazon, when you see it in the loaded in Create Kindle, you'll see every chapter in there, you'll see the chapter header, and that will create the table of contents. It automatically creates the table of contents. You can override some of the aspects. I didn't. I just let it create the table of contents, because that way, when you're reading it and you click the particular line, it'll jump to that page. You don't get page numbers on the ebook. You do get page numbers on the physical book.
Mm-hmm. A few more technical questions. So there is a question about the graphics of the title page. Do you design that yourself? Do you have freedom as to what it looks like?
Okay. So what you can. So I did have to. So you have your manuscript. You create your front and back matter. You do have to create a cover. You create the cover online. When you upload it to Amazon, you upload the manuscript, and then you basically create a cover or upload a cover. Okay. You can just let Amazon create a cover, and it gives you some basic designs and basic textual formats, and you just put in the title and the author name and the like. I thought that was kind of bland. I wanted to put in, you see the picture behind me?
Yeah.
That's what I wanted as my cover.
Uh-huh.
So if you look at my book, that's where it comes from, the picture behind me. Which
Can you show the actual book one more time?
What?
Can you show the actual book one more time for the comparison? So would it come?
There you go.
Okay. All right.
So it was. I just took a photo, and cleaned it up, and then basically from the Kindle, it will give you a template. You can use a template which shows you given how many pages your book is. So if it's just an ebook, you don't have to worry about thickness. It's just about 6 inches by 9 inches, which is a standard format. So you can just use that standard format. They have lots of different sizing you can do. It does give you guidance that you have to have a margin on each side and then the center margin. You have to have a bit of wiggle room, and then it calculates what your cover page sizing should be. And then you just have to make sure your graphic fits in there, and you drop in your own words, like your title and your author and how you want it to look. So a lot of people just let Kindle automatically create it. I wanted my own look, and I just followed the template. If you do a physical book, you have to. They give you an estimate of the number of pages when you create the physical book. So that tells you, and then you can just enter that into their template mask, which ends up being just an Excel spreadsheet, and it tells you how thick it is, and it creates a template which is a PDF that I just overlay on PowerPoint.
Gordon, there is a question from Karen Linden, and I'm actually kind of interested in that too. Why that photo? What it means wanting to see some behind-the-scenes story. So what does it mean? Why did you choose that one?
So that's one page in my front matter about the cover. There's both a sentimental value, because I actually went to Xi'an. It's it represents the terracotta soldiers, which was the first Chinese emperor of China, who based his base all the way back in 221 BC. And then he had terracotta soldiers. And I went there with my mother and my father, and I took them down the Three Gorges. So there was, but I saw this picture there and I bought it. So there's that aspect. The other aspect is it's bamboo. And that's very symbolic. You see bamboo, you think of Asia. It's also a very hardy tree grass. It grows and it doesn't break. It flows with the wind, and you got to do that when you build a business in Asia. You got to be able to flow with the wind. So it has solid root structure, and it adapts to its environment. And so I thought that was a good analogy for if you want to build a business in Asia, just be like a bamboo. So.
That makes sense. So you have your graphics, just to be sure then. So it sounds like it's not that difficult once you have the content in, let's say, Microsoft and a collection of JPEG pictures. From that point on, you kind of upload, check, make some little changes if needed. But it sounds like it's sort of like WYSIWYG. What you see is what you get, and it's
So just get in your mind, you first create the book on your laptop using their program, and then when you upload it, you have basically 3 sections. The first section is all about your own details, like your personal details, where you want your royalties paid, what's your bank account number so it can electronically transfer royalties. If you're overseas, you have to do your ISBN form and to minimize your tax withholding. So that's sort of all the logistics matter. Then it's sort of give us your manuscript, give us your cover, What are your keywords? How do you categorize it? Um, and then you can say preview it online. Okay. Now the ebook, you already looked at it on Great Kindle, but I also look at it online. The physical book you want to look at online, because the physical book isn't really represented like on the Create Kindle app on your laptop. It's really just doing for an ebook.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
The print book, though, you may want certain pages to be blank, because you always want, like I had to do that because I always wanted my text on the left page and the image on the right page. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And so I had to make sure the chapter started in the right place. So I put in some extra blank pages. So and so I just flowed through it and make sure it all lined up. So you can look at it online as well, as if it was a physical book.
So we have a little bit more questions here about technical issues. So print book. So you created electronic copy. Where does the print book comes from? Do they create an automatically copy for you? Do you have to pay extra for that? How does it work with the physical version?
Oh, okay. So let's talk about we're on the online on the website.
Uh-huh.
Okay, it's the author website now. They call it KDP. There you load in and you get your they ask you, what are you doing first? Are you uploading an ebook first, or are you uploading a print book first? Okay. It's your choice. I uploaded an ebook. That was the first thing. And it took all those details. When I finished my ebook, it says, do you want to create a physical book now? Okay.
Amazon asks you that directly, right?
Yeah. And it associates the two books together then when it shows up on your listing.
Uh-huh.
So the one advantage with the doing an ebook is, and this is what I did, is you can say, today's what, the 9th or whatever. I want my book available. It's going to be available on December 21st. So the ebook, you can pre-order an ebook and on December 21st it'll be downloaded to you. You can't do that with the physical book. So I didn't have my book done yet. I had to ensure that 5 days before that date, my manuscript was uploaded. If it's not, Amazon says it's going to banish you for a year, because it's taking pre-orders, right? It's, people are already giving money for the book and expecting it to come down. So you can do that with an ebook. Okay, so I created an ebook first.
Can we talk about that pre-order date? So do you have to specify the pre-order date, or can you just say, well, it will be available whenever I'm done?
Yeah, you can just do that. And you say, make available now.
So why did you self-impose a pre-order date? I did
that. It was at the end of my course, which was in November. And I said, by the way, class, if any of you are interested, my new book is going to be available on December. I originally had December 11th. I actually released it December 7th.
Mm-hmm.
So you can move up you can change your date, move it up, as long as you give that 5-day window.
So the original release date would have been tomorrow, right?
Yeah. But it's been up for a while, for a few days now, a week now.
Okay.
Because I finished it earlier than I thought.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it asks you, do you want to create a physical copy? You click yes. What happens then? Who pays for the print? How does it work?
Okay, so yes, and you have to then give a full cover, not just the front page, which would be on the ebook. You need the full front and back.
And the middle, I guess, right, too?
And the middle, yeah, and that's where the sizing.
Mm-hmm.
So after, I was trying to think, what happens next? Well, you have to give how do you want it distributed? Are you going to distribute it exclusively through Amazon? And that's what I did. They can distribute it through, so people with other e-readers could read it, other bookstores besides Amazon, but you get much lower royalty. And I figure Amazon has the biggest distribution. Why not just go for 90 days exclusive with them?
Mm-hmm.
You then confirm your royalty. let me just get the figures right. For the ebook, the royalty is 35%. There is, for a children's book, there's ability to have, if you're going to price your book less than $10, they'll raise that to 60%. But your book has to be less than $10. If it's more,
let's just reiterate that. So if you publish an ebook with Amazon, every time it's sold, let's say, for example, the price is $10, just to keep it round.
yeah.
So,
no. So if it's $10, you can get a 60% below $10. If you're over that, let's go with my book. My book, $34.95. I get 35% royalty on that. So I get $12.23
from every copy sold. That's very good. So again, I'm not sure what people expected to hear for the number here, but as I said, when you publish with a regular publisher, you usually get somewhere, from what I understand from my research, you get somewhere between 2 and 5%.
Yeah, it's very low.
Yeah, when we got 5%, everybody will say like, wow, that's so cool. I mean, how did you, did you twist their arms? And I said, well, no, that's what they offered. Is it much or not? Because I thought it's nothing. And everybody says, actually, that's very good, because normally they don't give you that much. Usually they get like 2-3%. That's it. So 35, that's like 10 times.
35 on the ebook. On the print book, it's 60%, less your print charge.
So can you tell how much that print charge might be?
Yeah, so it will give you the estimate. It asks you, is it going to be in color, black and white? In my case, so my book, the print charge was in color $26.89, so $27. Black and white was about $6.
Then it's not too bad.
Yeah. So, but my images are all color. Excuse me, I gotta blow my nose, or you can edit this out.
The print is, so just to go, so you pay a one-time fee of a few $1,000s for the cover, and then $6 per copy per one. You said $6.
No. So so ebook, it's basically you download it. It's the person pays $35 and I get $12. If they order the book to be physically delivered to them, they'll pay the cost of the book, and I'll get 60% of that cost. Now, less the print charge. So let's just take my case. I decided, so I'm printing in color because all my images are color. So I have $27 of print charge.
But
I just basically doubled the price of my book.
So, but is it $27? Is it a one-time charge, or it's per copy?
No, it's per copy, because they print on demand. So it is long production run. It's print on demand.
Got it. If you wanted to get a couple hundred copies for yourself to, let's say, give out to your friends and family, how much would you pay for those copies then?
You're charged for the print cost and delivery.
So it will cost you what, about $33 or something like that?
Yeah, well, so it cost me the $27 plus the delivery charge. If you're in the States, it's a lot cheaper. Getting it delivered here, I think it's about another $4 per book is the delivery charge.
And so how much did you price?
Yeah.
So how much did you price your physical books? So it's $34 for the electronic copy. How much is it for the?
So it's 35. Let's go even numbers. It's $35 for the $34.95, but $35 for the ebook, and I just doubled it. So it's basically $70 for the physical book.
And so when you sell a physical book,
what?
When you sell the physical book, how much is staying in your account then? You said it's.
So I get about $15.
So in the end, it's almost the same. Doesn't really matter that much which version you sell.
Yeah. If you had a black and white print, that's another $20 you would have got.
So that's a big difference. Again, good to keep in mind when people are creating the graphics. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Very interesting. All right. And then once you set those little details up, you just basically click publish and then wait for the book.
And Amazon, they need the 5 days. They actually have someone look at your book. So they said, well, this is how I found out on with my physical book. They said it has the wrong ISBN number on the copyright page, because you get assigned an ISBN number when you create a physical book, but you are the one that has to physically then go back, put it into your manuscript, upload the new manuscript. So it's slightly convoluted that way.
There is an interesting question also from Professor Savita Gautam from India. She's asking about the number of pages. So you gave all those numbers, and that's your book. It looked like about what, 350 pages or so, based on.
I haven't got my. I just published my book last week.
Uh-huh.
And it's going to take about 3 weeks before the first run, and I get my book. So I just put the cover on.
So it's only the cover. Oh, but how does all that changes when you add more pages? Is it more or less for the print, or it's fixed
Oh
price?
yeah. So it's priced on number of pages.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Uh-huh.
So the bigger the book, the more charge you have. My book is about 300. About 300 on the estimate 378 pages.
I was almost right on. So okay. So.
Yeah.
So for the electronic copy, I assume number of pages doesn't matter, but for the hard copy, depending on the size,
Right.
it may be a little bit more for the print charges.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
The only thing that's on the electronic copy is there's a bit more for obviously the user download time.
Mm-hmm.
You know.
And then also for the audio version, if you wanted to create one, I'm an avid audio listener, so it looks like this year I will approach about 80 books in the year. And so I really love audio, because I don't want to just sit down and read. I want to do something and listen. So if you wanted to create your own audio version, would that be an option? And maybe
there is a capability and option for it. I have not investigated it yet, but I know it does exist there. You know, so they obviously have to. I don't know if they use a computer to do the first pass, and then someone actually goes through it. But there is a cost to creating it.
I can say from my experience, for those who might want to consider the audio option, I don't know how it works with Amazon, but just creating the audio file. So I've tried two different versions. One, you can go on websites like Upwork, and so there are many. So it's a kind of freelancer website for all kinds of creative services, and so there is a whole section there for the voice actors, and you can hire them. You can look at their work, listen to their prior work, and the prices are very different. So they're all around the world. Usually, you can get much cheaper services from, for example, outside the United States. But that will be done very professionally. So it will be really done professionally. I also experimented with using my own students. I've used 4, I believe, over the years, maybe 5. 4 students and 1 professor. And so they have very nice kind of radio voice, like the proper, the voice that instills trust and, easy to understand. But to my surprise, out of 5 people I worked with, only 1 was very good. So all the other ones, when they talk, it sounds very pleasant. But when they start reading, turns out that the intonation, pacing, you have to be trained in that. And so there was 1 who was very good at that, and so he was willing to do it virtually for free, just for fun. I'm not sure if you'll find someone like that. I'm not sure if my student would still be available. But I suppose just creating the audio file, if you have a better microphone, it should be okay. For example, when we recorded some the voice track for the X-Culture videos, those whiteboard animations, what we did was our campus has a whole recording studio, and it's available to faculty for free. So I had to book it a few days in advance, but they had professional microphones, full, soundproof. And so that allowed us to create those audio files. And I assume the same thing would be available for the professors. But my question, so it sounds like you Gordon, you say you didn't explore it. So once you have the MP3 file, it should be as easy as just click and upload, or there may be some more complicated process there?
Yeah, I would have to investigate that and get back to you. I haven't played with it yet, so I don't want to give the wrong information.
Got it. Okay. There are a few.
The one other thing to consider is one of the other reasons I went with decided to do Kindle is because when I want to do a new version, so I'm constantly updating my teaching materials, my content, and the way I've structured the book, because it's basically 144 concise posts, basically across 14 chapters. I can add posts anytime. I can add content anytime, right? So all I'll do is I'll create at the end of next term, I'll just create a new version.
That's what I wanted to ask. So if you wanted to create like edition 2, so you just add content to the existing book and publish it as edition 2, right?
Correct. And so, and you just say that you'll have to add a line, say this is version 2, so.
Yeah, very interesting. So a few more questions in terms of technicalities. One, in terms of ownership, how does it work? So who owns the content? Does it become now property? So unlike with regular publishers where you have to
I
relinquish
believe.
all rights,
Yeah.
here you remain the owner. So
Yeah.
if you decided, for example, tomorrow, let's say, for example, tomorrow another publisher approaches you and says, Gordon, we love this book so much, it fits so well with our mission, so they offer you a better deal, or for whatever reason you decided to, so you then just stop distribution through Amazon?
Well, so I've done a 90 day. So in the first 90 days, I
Yeah,
can't.
but it's
Outside of,
not in perpetuity, so it's something that just,
yeah,
again, I'll share with you one story. Maybe it would be interesting to you, Gordon, but also to the listeners here. So at my department, when I was hired, in fact, one of the reasons why I chose this university, we had a professor, Paul Muczynski. And so Paul was the author. He died sadly a couple of years ago, but he's the author of the most popular industrial organizational psychology textbook. And so I think now it's like in edition 14 or 15. So literally with hundreds of thousands of, over the years, because it's been around for decades now. And so originally it was published, I don't know who was the publisher, but it was, with one of these academic publishers. And so after like 6 editions, I believe, he said, no, that's enough. I mean, it's so popular and I'm literally getting nothing. And so he decided to go the self-publishing route. And so he literally had to buy out the rights to his book. I don't know how expensive the deal was, but he said it was a huge amount of money that he needed to pay to the publisher to have the right from now on to publish new editions on his own. So he eventually bought out those rights, set up a separate company, and then now it's been published. Well, as I said, he died now, but I think his daughter is in charge, and his co-author or somebody took over the whole process. But then once he was fully in charge, that's where he started seeing some serious money and, enough to set up a company, hire employees. In fact, one of our university employees fully transferred to work for him instead. So that's where he started seeing some serious cash. And so as a textbook, I assume it was about $100-something per copy. And so that's, so a huge difference depending on how you publish in that respect.
yeah. And so, I don't want, if you have a simple book, I think Kindle is a better way to go. If it's more complex and you want to have a lot of interactivity, and that's what the traditional publishers are trying to do, is have more interactivity, as you know, for the ebooks and the like. You don't get that with the Kindle. The Kindle is a basic book with graphics, but you don't have that you can display on the ebook or in physical book, but you don't have the level of interactivity that you do on some of the new traditional publisher software. Whether it's Williams or whatever.
Can you still embed hyperlinks to websites?
Yeah, yeah. So the hyperlinks are in the ebook. So that's not a problem.
Then that's perfect. So we actually worked at some point, never published, by the way, but maybe we should go back and publish it with one of our professors, a book on we called it country guides. So presumably it would have been, a guide to countries as people, let's say you go on a business trip to, let's say, China, and you didn't do your research, but you want to catch up on your flight. So you just download China and you read that chapter as you're flying. And so, yes, we used one of those more advanced electronic editors where you had interactive charts, where you had some, pronunciation, but as long as you have a hyperlink, you can actually take people directly to the website and just put it on your website. You don't really need to have, that natively embedded in the book itself. There is a very interesting question here from Dina, one of our professors, about sort of academic credit. So when you publish this book, how does it work? And it may be different from institution to institution, but you still want to have it on your resume. I mean, it's still, as academics, we have to publish or perish, and it's all about peer-reviewed articles. Can you tell us more about self-published books? How does it? Do you get any recognition credit other than the royalties?
Well, textbooks, it's not peer reviewed. So you're not getting, you're getting, now, you will get credit for creating a practice-oriented, text that you can also use for teaching. But it doesn't have the same value in terms of academic credentials relative to an FT50 journal article.
Of course, but still. But let me specify that question. So you talked about ISBN, and so usually sort of ISBN is the marker, the difference between a a blog post on your website
Yeah.
versus a real book that you can show your parents and say, hey, see that I published a book. And so
Yeah.
you said for the electronic one, they give you, as you said, a dummy ISBN, but then for the real one, for the paper one, they give you a real one. So is that
Yes.
something that Amazon handles for you? Do you pay extra for that? How does it
Oh,
work?
no, it's automatic. When you see a print book, you get your ISBN assigned.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
So that's fine. They have, I think it's a different ABSN or something for the electronic books
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
for reference. But it's a 13-digit ISBN assigned. They don't go and get you a Library of Congress number,
Mm-hmm.
LOC number.
Yeah.
You would have to do that, or get someone to do that.
Is
But
that
nobody,
sort of like
no one refers to that generally. Although some of the library systems may look for an LLC number, but the ISP number is the key one.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Yeah. So, but in any case, yeah, as long as you have that, that's like a reference to your paper. And so,
Yeah.
yes, books, because they're not necessarily peer reviewed, I guess they don't carry the same weight at some institutions as you said, FT50 papers. But then in some disciplines, books, that's what counts. So they
Yeah.
actually look at books, not at papers. I know that my friends in geography and history, I had one roommate back in Canada. He specialized in military history of Canada. So they published books. And when I told him we have to publish papers, he said, who cares about a paper? Just a few pages. You write a
Yeah.
monograph, 1,000 pages, research that you do on some battle somewhere, the Canadian military was engaged in. So I guess for them, that's the way to go then.
So for me, it counts because I'm a practice professor. And so I don't have to produce as many journal articles. I just have to engage with business. So this is really an integrated business academic text.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I'm really structured to make it that way.
Yeah.
That a business person would want to read. You'll see on the praise for the book, I do have it biased towards the coming from business executives first, and then I have yourself and students singing the praise of the book, and the positioning of it in on Amazon. It's more to hit the business audience because a student is going to be driven by the professor. For me, I was mainly concerned about using it for my students, but I recognize other professors may want to teach this course. It's unlike any other IB course. I looked at all the IBIM books, and they followed a quite similar structure. And this is quite a different because it goes into the mechanics of multinational and Asia. Yeah.
Yeah, one issue to consider here, if you want to publish a book to use in your own class, I know that at least at the American institutions, you always have to go through this kind of conflict of interest review process. And so if you sort of push your own book on your own students, nothing wrong with that, you can do that for sure. But there will be, at least at our school, I know there will be some sort of a review making sure that you're not trying to sort of make some buck on, on your students. So you just have to explain that, yes, I couldn't find an existing book and I decided to write one myself. And then it's okay, but there will be some step when someone looks at it to make sure that you are,
So you recognize and you know that, but the rest of the audience doesn't know. This is a part of a broader program where a lot of the content is actually published on LinkedIn. Yes. So my students, it's all out there on LinkedIn as well as so you just get there. Or if you want, it's entirely optional for you to have the book if you want to buy the book. Yeah. And the reality, as I've told you in the past, is you don't make money out of writing books. The book is really for credentials.
Yeah, let's do some quick math. So if you make, let's say, about $15 per copy in your case, so if you sell 1,000 copies over the life of the book, that's what, about $15,000 minus taxes, minus whatever. So it will not make you rich. It will not probably make a huge difference in but it's already something. I mean, it's, it's basically, depending on where you teach. So it's an equivalent of 1 to 2 courses of teaching. And so if you think about that it takes some time to teach a course, why not maybe spend that time and write a book? And I really, really love the idea. And by the way, for those who are listening, so we will have another meeting in a few days with Gordon, where we will specifically talk about the use of LinkedIn in teaching. But so what I really like about your approach is that you essentially kind of published a few pages of that book in the form of posts on LinkedIn. and then you just consolidate all of that and basically you have a book. And so that's the way to go. So I mean, first it's easier to read it that way, but then also easier to self-discipline and get it published. So why not? I mean, if you have a collection of publications like that, put it together, maybe add a little bit more sort of meat to it, but yeah, why not? So, and yes, while you may not get rich on it, it does give you some recognition. You can maybe, if you do some consulting on the side, perhaps it gives you some credibility. It may give you some new clients. The students respect you more. So it seems to be, there is a question again from Dina. She says she's heard if you get the book reviewed by another academic or academics, some institutions may count that as a peer-reviewed work. So did you try soliciting sort of unbiased external reviews?
I've just released it. That's my next step.
Okay,
This is small moves. We had the COVID. I started doing the LinkedIn posts and that teaching method, which raised the retention and absorption of the knowledge. And then I said, why don't I just consolidate it and create a book? And now I've done that. Now I'm at the next step. And no one had been using Kindle, so I'm doing a lot of new things, and so yeah, that's the next step. That's why I ordered the print copies, because it's going to go to the dean and see what he'll do with it.
Okay, got it. Okay. So let's talk a little bit more about, so you have it published. In terms of promotion, I know you're big on sort of strategizing promotion and kind of roll out from soliciting perhaps some reviews, as you just mentioned, but also targeting the right audience. So are you planning to do something big to sort of to increase the sales, or you just put it on Amazon and see what happens?
So it's on Amazon, and then I create, obviously, I'm connected with a lot of international business organizations, Asia Link Business in Australia, or Asia Society, which is in the US and in Australia and Hong Kong. So on the business network, the trade commissions. So who needs help in figuring out how to internationalize towards Asia? So I'm leveraging, remember, I've been in this business for 30 years, right? So I have a pretty big network within the business community. So even going through the board certification program. So Singapore Institute of Directors, the Australian Institute of Directors, as company directors institutes in the States and Canada. Boards need to understand how to engage into Asia. So I'm going through that route. On the academic, I've sent, we'll trying to go through AIB, and I'll they do reviews of books once in a while. I'm going through my library. The library system here is promoting it. My former alumni University of Sydney, they're promoting it. So you're promoting it for me.
Yeah, well, in my case, it's not so much promoting it, just I do feel that it's an important region. And I know that many, like for example, Alani Baumenis, so she will be teaching a course specifically on China next semester. So literally doing business in China. And so I figured a book like that could be a nice addition to the course, especially because you can get an electronic copy relatively cheaply. Again, those who are, I see we have quite a few countries here based on the names. So I know most of the professors here. So in the United States, for example, the textbook that I use in my own course is like $145. So it's an expensive textbook, very expensive. In fact, sometimes I feel guilty that the students have to pay so much for the textbook. So if I can get something for $30, $40, $50 as an add-on, that's a very good deal. And maybe for a course like, teaching doing business in China, maybe this can become the textbook, maybe add some readings. So why not? I mean, so it's not so much promotion, it's kind of jumping on the, opportunity, and maybe why not? From someone who actually is there, but is from the West, and so can explain Asia through the eyes of a Western person. So it seems to me like a pretty good deal.
And, and the book price is really up to you, so I think you can go up to about $200. Mm-hmm. I wanted to make it accessible to students, and it's sort of, remember, I've already been in the industry for 25 years before I got in academics. So I wasn't after the money. It was more of the credential. It was more important than another few dollars out of a book. But that's a personal strategy on what's the purpose of using the book.
Yeah, it makes perfect sense. One more question in terms of PDF, going back to PDF. Is there a way to create a PDF of the printed book? So in case you want to print some copies sort of locally, if you don't want to pay for the delivery and the print
That's
by
why you got to make the man. So Kindle doesn't give you that export. They put it into their own format to go into the. So they are protective of that. So that's why you got to make sure the manuscript's the way you want it. That you have ownership of that, and make sure you have it the way you want. Don't do a lot of editing in the Create Kindle.
Mhm. Another question in terms of the copy editing. So did you rely on your own writing skills, or did you hire professional freelancers who did the actual copy editing? I know as
Well,
a non-native speaker, I know for me that no matter how much I
so I did it myself. I had Grammarly, and I also used through my career in the book. My wife is actually an editor.
Oh, okay, I like it for you. Yeah, back in Canada, actually, my co-author of like a dozen papers, maybe more, Pierce Steele. So his wife is an editor. So we always would send manuscripts to her. So, but that's only when I work with him. So, but when I work on my own, as I said, with Grammarly, I have this executive, whatever, the super premium account. I think everything's perfect. I thought I got it right, and then you send it to a professional, and they're like, "Whoa!"
Yeah.
So you want to probably
Well,
spend money
so
on that.
Grammarly will pick up the structure, according to the rules. An editor will restructure the sentences. What's the message trying to you're not getting the message across in the right way. And it's a bit of that, I think I got it right. And then my wife just completely
Yeah.
redoes it. I've, read everywhere.
Gordon, we just got a message from Ernesto. Buongiorno, Ernesto. So he says he already have a new client. He just bought a book of Amazon Kindle. So you just made $15. Yeah.
Oh, it's worth my time.
Yeah, I'm curious how it works. So I have Amazon Premium, and I have this unlimited, they call it Amazon Unlimited Books or something like that. And so I noticed that the electronic copy is free to me. So they charge me, I think it's like $150 a year or something like that for the access. And I don't know how they decide which books I get for free, but there are quite a few books that I can just download. And so I'm not sure if they just figure that with the money that I pay per year, it still comes up to about what I would be paying if I bought one by one or some other deal. But I'm curious how it works with the royalties when I use it through my unlimited subscription. So is it still the same deal for you? I guess it's still the same.
No. It changes in terms of your royalties. So because I went into the I went into the 90-day program with Amazon. That goes into what you have as the unlimited. Okay, and basically, the money you pay for the unlimited goes into a global fund for KDP. So they call it the KDP Select Global Fund. And they distribute money out of that to the authors. Now, basically, what I get paid is about 0.005 cents per page.
Per page.
Okay. Yeah. So if you download the book and don't even read a page, I get nothing. If you read 50 pages, I get 50 times.
So I actually need to go through the pages. Okay, that's very interesting.
Yeah.
And so what you're saying is, because that's something I never explored. So my unlimited, because I never tried to read a book the second time, but so it will expire in 90 days then, or do I still keep my copy forever?
Oh, you'll probably be okay. No, my contractual agreement to put it into the exclusive program with Kindle is last 90 days. And it lasts as long until I say, no, stop. So
very interesting. So, but yeah, I didn't realize that they pay you per page. So essentially, the content that delivers, eyeballs essentially. So that's a very, I guess it's a fair system.
And you don't make as much. You don't make as much money on that. So on a full book, I'll get $2 as royalty, given the number of pages I have. If you read every page.
Very interesting.
So by putting in the program, but it's sort of it helps with the distribution. Not everyone is a Kindle Unlimited user, but yeah.
Ernesto just told me that with the unlimited Kindle Unlimited, I get essentially a rented book, and that makes sense because I think over the years, I've probably downloaded hundreds of them, and I don't think I have that many of them in my library now. So maybe they do expire after you get that exclusive, term
Yeah.
over. Interesting. Good to know. I didn't know that, Ernesto. I usually listen to the audio versions, and but sometimes it's not available in audio. So in that case, I get the Kindle, and often I get. And Ernesto says it's maximum 10 books at one time, because over the years I've downloaded quite a few of them. Or is it per year? So I don't know. I need to explore more, because yeah, good to know. All right. Oh, at one time. So Ernesto says it's like a rental at one time. Could vary. Yeah, as I said, I don't use it that often. So, but it's maximum 10 at a time. Okay, we have another avid reader, and apparently he likes the text version more because he knows that more. Good to know, Ernesto. Thank you so much. So the way I judge the quality of the content delivered in the webinar is how many notes I take and how many points I make. I think this is my record, so I have the full page. I'm not sure how visible it is. So it's like literally like 2,000 little things that I needed to jot down. Usually it's like 5 or 6. Did we miss anything? So did we cover all of the points?
Yeah, I think we covered a lot of territory, and so you're gonna, you do have to play with it a bit, but it isn't that hard to play with, So I really didn't start trying to create. I created the book probably in about 2 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
The course ended. I had the material collecting, so I focused on the manuscript. But when I got to the stage of putting it in the Kindle, it went pretty quick.
That's good to know. And so do I understand correctly, just one more time, because we keep getting questions about money. So technically you don't pay anything, you just put in your work and then you get paid after this. So they essentially invest all that money or all that effort and IT solutions and everything in you in hopes that the books will be sold, and they will keep their 40 to 65% depending on the version.
Correct.
So essentially they do everything for you, but because of that, they keep obviously part of the proceeds.
And, they obviously have an interest in trying to automate the process, pushing out the automation to you, so that's why they created the Kindle Create.
Mm-hmm.
That reduces the amount of rework that they have to do, obviously.
That makes perfect. So, but
there is a lot of help. So you just may get a bit confused on, they have a lot of help instructions, videos, created over the past couple of years. Create Kindle only came out over the past year or two. So there's sort of, well, is this instruction applied to Create Kindle or not? So there's a bit of confusion with that. But it's just to be aware of that when you go to the website. You KDP, the Kindle Desktop Publishing website, they have a lot of help, help guidance for you on how to create a book.
And so again, just to be reconfirmed, so technically you can publish any book. You said even children's books. It can be big, it can be small. So there is really nothing preventing us from, let's say, publishing a book a year. I mean, like we spend so much time publishing on, for example, LinkedIn or Facebook. Why not strategically plan it so that each of those posts is a useful story and then package it as a book?
Yes. You got my strategy.
Yeah. So in fact, now I wish I had a discussion like this with you 10 years ago. By now I would have a few books published. So yeah, I guess you're right. So in the end, all that LinkedIn and Facebook can actually be your sort of coach in the box, or, motivator, or, because it's easy to publish. Well, not easy, but, relatively easy to find some time to sometimes talk about some business stories, for example, if you want to publish a business book or whatever the topic is. Yeah.
Well, and there's, as you said, whatever the topic is, you can. One of the values in my post is taking a lot of information and consolidating it into a key message, because a lot of books, it goes on for 10 pages and there was a lot of detail. Well, what's the key thing I need to know?
Exactly.
You can break it down, basically 1,300 characters is one full page text.
Exactly.
And a graphical image to help them, because that's how people are socialized now, to an image and a text and a little bit of text.
Yeah, as I said, I know students would love this format because, nobody wants to read a plain text 40-page chapter. But if you have a picture and a nice story with a nice message, I think everybody, in fact, it can even be promoted, read a story a day, finish even a thick book in a few weeks or something like that. So why not?
Well, I call it a spoonful of knowledge a day. So that's how I distribute my my course. and it's active learning. And we'll talk more about this on Tuesday, but it's a
Yes.
lot more active learning.
Yeah, maybe, yes. Let's then finish this session with the announcement. So on Tuesday, same time, we have another session that I found, as the topic I found to be fascinating. So how do you use LinkedIn to kind of spice up and improve your teaching? And so I love that. In fact, I spent hours by now trying to kind of research Gordon's strategy, using my own observations. But so what he does here is he posts much of the course content on LinkedIn. And so that not only improves students, interest and learning, but also, I suppose, improves or increases your professional network. The students stay in touch with you, so tomorrow they may become your, I don't know, partners, clients, whatnot. The students learn how to.
Students are encouraged to comment on it,
the comment,
which increases their ability to get jobs as well.
Exactly. So
it establishes the positioning of your students in the industry's mind.
So exactly. So the students actually benefit from that because they, LinkedIn now, I know my wife is now trying to apply for a job. She just got her master's degree. And so everybody is going and asking, what's your LinkedIn profile? And so she didn't have one. So everybody was like, what's wrong with you? So now she's trying to create one. So resume is not enough anymore. And so by introducing students to LinkedIn, you essentially, it's a service to students, because without that, they will be disadvantaged. And so by taking your course and by going to LinkedIn instead of, for example, Blackboard for discussions, they build that profile, they build that presence. And if they make smart comments, future employers may potentially like them more. And so I guess it's a win-win-win for everybody. So, but we'll talk about that on Tuesday. So I had a few questions here that, yes, the recording will be available. There are a few people who are late. Yes, of course, we will do that. And
I'm going to give the URL to the book in case anyone.
Oh yes, okay, yeah, it's in the comments, yeah. And I will also include that in the description once I post the video on Facebook and YouTube. So very good to know. So, and yeah, if you're teaching a course on, for example, doing business in Asia or international business in general, it might be an interesting addition to your course readings list. So yeah. Well, thank you so much, Gordon. Thank you. I know it's close to midnight in Singapore by now, so it's 10 p.m. I assume, right? So
coming up to 11, yeah.
Oh, 11. Okay, yeah. So it's a winter time. Yeah, winter time period. Yeah. So thank you so much for staying up with us here and sharing your experience. And hopefully we'll check again in a year or so. And all these people who are watching, hopefully there will be like 10 additional books published on Amazon because of it.
Okay,
thank you so much.
Amazon should be giving me a commission.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, exactly. Yes. So absolutely. All right. Well, thank you so much. Good night to those of you in Asia and Europe, and have a nice day to those of you in the Americas. And yeah, good night.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.